Welcome to part 2 of my weekly recap. If you haven't watched part 1, make sure to go check it out. Watch that before you watch this, and then come right back here. If you've already seen it, welcome back. Let's dive into part 2. So going into some of the themes, I'm wondering if our rotation is finally settled. Now, Evan Turner was out against the 76ers, and I think he was hurt for the second half of that Brooklyn Nets game, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not really sure when he hurt himself, but he only played 8 minutes against the Brooklyn Nets, and when he didn't play in the second half, I was wondering, okay, is Evan Turner finally out of the rotation? This has been a guy that I feel like the coaching staff has been a little bit stubborn with by just continuing to play him no matter what, no matter the situation is, no matter how well he's doing or how much he's struggling. This has always seemed like a guy that, since he's making $18 million a year, he's going to see the court. And I don't think that should necessarily be the case going forward now that we got 2 really good bench upgrades in the rotation now. So far, we've been playing Seth Curry, Rodney Hood, Jake Layman, and Enes Kanter as our 4-man lineup off the bench. Now, that's just in the past game and a half, but I'm wondering if this is what we finally settled on, or if it was just because Evan Turner hurt himself and Evan Turner is still in the rotation. Personally, depending on the other team's personnel, I like this Curry, Hood, Layman, Kanter lineup, but we could also go bigger by subbing out Curry and subbing in Zach Collins. I think Hood, Layman, Collins, and Kanter is a very cohesive unit. Collins could cover for Kanter's defensive inefficiencies, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and that team would still have a lot of offensive punch. Now, in this past game and a half, since we're only running a 9-man lineup, that must mean we're staggering Dame and CJ. This is something that I've wanted for a while, and I think it just makes the most sense. I don't think that they're any better individually when they're playing with each other than they are with the other off the floor. And that just allows a guy like Rodney Hood to get more minutes, because instead of having 12 minutes at the backup point guard and 12 minutes at the backup shooting guard, you have 24 minutes at the backup shooting guard, because CJ will slide 12 of his minutes over there to cover for Dame when Dame's out. So that's why I've been wanting to stagger these guys, and it looks like that might finally be the case. The Enes Kanter experience. This dude has been phenomenal offensively. 17 points per game in his 2-game stint so far for the Blazers. He's rebounding the ball well. He even had 4 assists last night. This dude is bringing exactly what I thought he would offensively. His low post work is very, very solid. He has a very, very good footwork. He's just one of those post guys that just keeps working and working and working until you force the ball out of his hands with a double team or he gets a bucket. I think offensively, he has a really calming influence for our bench, because there was a lot of times where the bench, they couldn't really create something going downhill, so they didn't really have an interior option. They would try to work together around the perimeter to create driving lanes and stuff like that, and they wouldn't really have an option where they could just relax, throw the ball into the low post and let a guy go to work and then play off of that. Now, I really like the pace they're playing with Enes Kanter in the post as a post-up option. I really like how calm they're playing offensively, and they're scoring the ball pretty well. I really like the way that unit works with Enes Kanter in there as the 6th man. Now, defensively, he's not going to be good, and we knew this. He definitely wasn't good yesterday morning, but he was also guarding Ben Simmons the majority of the time, and Enes Kanter shouldn't be guarding point guards. And I know you'll say, oh, Ben Simmons is a 6'10 point guard, and he shoots most of his shots from the interior, but Ben Simmons was getting off layups against Jusuf Nurkic. Ben Simmons was scoring against Jusuf Nurkic as well. That dude's a very tough cover. So I'm not just going to say, oh, this dude is absolutely terrible defensively just because of what Ben Simmons did to him. He's not good defensively, but I'm still trying to figure out how bad he is, and I still think everything he brings on the defensive boards, on the offensive boards, and interior scoring, all that I think more than makes up for his defensive inefficiencies. The style of play he brings to our offense is huge, and he's not going to be guarding a guy like Ben Simmons all the time. So Maurice Harkless has started rocking a headband, and the past 2 games he's had 13 points in both, and he's looking a lot more energized. And Mo Harkless has probably been the hottest topic with Blazer fans in regards to a rotation player. He seems to be the new Myers Leonard with the way some of these fans talk about him, and it's been bugging me seeing guys that will be super supportive of him if he strings together 4 or 5 good games, but since he's been struggling, they're sitting there on Twitter calling him pathetic, calling him worthless, calling him worse than a wet towel. This type of stuff, I don't like it at all. So if you're somebody who did that, just understand. This dude has been dealing with a knee injury, and I heard Dan Marang say on Blazers Outsiders, I heard him say either Maurice Harkless is healthy or he's not. But that's not how it works. I feel like Maurice Harkless was talking about his soreness with the medical doctor. They ended up sitting him out. Maurice Harkless thought he was good enough to go, probably 85–90% antsy to go. Then he got out there on the floor and his knee started getting worse and worse. So that resulted in him not playing with as much energy, him possibly trying to baby the knee a little bit by not running around as much, if that makes sense. Obviously not a good plan, but I think that might be the case where he was antsy to play, came back before it was 100% healthy, and then his energy levels were affected because of it. I don't think it's black and white where he's hurt or he's not. Now, obviously, he shouldn't be playing until he's 100%, and this is just speculation. Maybe he was just being moody, but he seemed to have realized how he can be moody and how it affects the team and how it affects his energy, and he's apologized for it in the past. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's because of the same issue it was last year when he got benched, where he's just being moody and not playing with enough energy. I don't really know the reason why he struggled so much this season, but I'm still going to be supportive of him. I'm still not going to call him pathetic. I'm still not going to just absolutely insult him, where if he has a good game, I'm going to be clapping and supporting him and getting hyped for him because he's helping out the team. That's called conditional support, and even though I criticize a lot of players, it's talking about them and their basketball skill compared to NBA players. I'm not just straight out going on Twitter with a big platform and calling him pathetic. That's a little bit different in my opinion, and I don't like that type of stuff. Anyway, this segment wasn't supposed to quite go that route. Basically, I'm just happy to see Mo playing with a lot of energy in the past couple games. He definitely helped us win both of these games. His interior scoring has been very solid. He even hit a 3 in that Philadelphia game. I don't know if he hit one in that Brooklyn game, but they had JJ Redick guarding Maurice Harkless for a big stretch of that game against Philadelphia. And Maurice Harkless is a good low post player for a small forward. He's 6'9", he's strong, he finishes well around the rim out of the post, and you're gonna put 6'4" JJ Redick on him? Maurice Harkless made him pay, and props to Stotts for recognizing the mismatch and feeding Maurice Harkless. That might have also been Dame as a point guard recognizing the mismatch and setting up the offense to get Harkless the ball in the low post against a mismatch. So I'm just going to give props to both those guys. Defensively, he's also been very, very good the past couple games, and if Maurice Harkless can replicate the stretch he had after the All-Star break last year with the upgrades we've made, we might go on another 13-game winning streak. Last but certainly not least, I think Dame is going to be much more rested for the playoffs than he has been in years past. With the way Dame has played in years past, he seemed to have very little juice left for the postseason. When he needed to ramp it up, he was petering out, and that wasn't really his fault. He had to do so much for the team in previous years in terms of scoring, in terms of setting guys up, that he just absolutely expelled all his energy. The past 2 games, he honestly hasn't had to expel much energy at all. He's barely had to shoot. This dude isn't really taking anywhere near his normal allotment of shots the past 2 games, and our offense is humming along beautifully because of the upgrades we've made and because of the play of some other players. If this is a common theme where after the All-Star break our offense can still play at top notch without Dame having to do it all, then he's going to be a lot more prepared for postseason, and it will help us in the playoffs. When you got a guy like Jusuf Nurkic who's turned into a very good low post scorer this season that you can just dump the ball down, when you got a guy like Rodney Hood who can get his own shot off the bench, when you got a guy like Enes Kanter you can just throw the ball into and let him go to work, that doesn't take energy, and those are 3 very good options. Then you got CJ, you got Jake Layman as a cutter where he's able to use his high energy to get free on cuts a lot, and it just takes a simple lob pass or a simple backdoor pass from Dame or Nurkic or whoever to get Layman a bucket inside. On those plays, Dame isn't busting his butt just to try and get the Blazers a good shot. I think this dude is just going to be a lot more rested for playoffs this year just because of some of the players we've brought in, the way some other guys have evolved, and just how good our offense can be without him doing it all. So anyway, true Blazer fans, I hope you liked the video. Let me know what you think about any of these talking points down in the comment section below. Monday mailbag will drop tomorrow. If you have a question that you want to ask me, go back to that video and ask it in the comment section, and I will try to answer it. So anyway, that's all I got for now. I hope you guys have a good week ahead. This has been Tori. Peace out. Go Blazers.